Hey, everybody. So, of course, we're having a little bit of a technical difficulties, but it's okay because I am going to figure this out. Hold on, let me open up this chat. Put in the chat if you can see a screen that says millionaire real estate investor. Just let me know that. And if that's the case, then we're good to go. If not, we got issues. Put in the chat for me. You can see millionaire real estate investor. Just put yes in the chat for me, please. Okay, cool. All right, good. So we're good. All right, so we are going to get started on this challenge. It's a lot of information. A lot of people have submitted questions. A lot of people have, um, you know, engaged. So I'm excited to get started. I'm going to start with really just kind of introducing myself, kind of giving you some introductions and objections of what we're going to cover over these next 3 days. But in addition to that, we're going to go ahead and get to know you a little bit better. I think people are probably going to trickle in a little bit, but I am so excited that for the folks that are here. Um, I want to make sure that you all get the information that you need so that you can make a sound decision to figure out if real estate investing is what you need and what you need to do in order to move forward in your wealthy goals. So, of course, welcome. I really appreciate you all. I know it is a Tuesday night and it is not the ideal time. Most people are just kind of chilling on a Tuesday night. And so I'm grateful for all of you being here. Let me just kind of explain who I am, right? So I'm a real estate investor, but I have been a coach and strategist for a number of years. And I have built this portfolio, this business that helps women realize their potential when it comes to real estate investing. So a lot of us are taking small, really small steps in order for us to be able to invest. And what happens is that we don't feel sure about what we're doing, so we're not taking larger leaps. So we start the retirement account at work. We start the savings account, which is awesome, but we don't invest in real estate because we don't have all of the facts. And so I try to make sure that I give you all as much value as I possibly can, so that you're able to really take the steps that you need in order for you to be able to, one, invest in real estate confidently, but also be able to really tell yourself that this is something that you can do and it's not a dream, it's not a pipe dream, right? So you're in the right place if you want to change your financial picture. If you feel like real estate investing is really the way that you want to build wealth, because there's a number of ways, right? So there's stocks, there's businesses, there's other asset classes that you can use in order to build wealth. But you're in the right place if you feel like real estate is really the one that you want to do, right? So that's the case, you're here, and then you're open to new ideas and to get to your goals, because I think a lot of us are stuck in what we used to do, and it's okay, but we have to sometimes get uncomfortable in order for us to make some moves. So let me know, just put a yes in the chat, um, if these are all things that are we're on the same accord. Because if those are not the things, then you're going to be very upset with me tonight, because that's exactly what I'm teaching, and it's what I have taught so many women to really get uncomfortable, right? And so a lot of us don't want to do that. A lot of us want to stay in our little things and do our things, and it's nothing wrong with it. But when you want more, you are able to get to these goals with the knowledge, right? So the next things are the three objections, right? So some of us don't know where to start. So let me know if that's the case. Some of us are like still unsure of where we should be starting. Let me know. And then a lot of us have the questions of how much will I need to start off investing, right? So, the number changes with interest rates going up. In fact, the Feds have a meeting tomorrow, so we expect that the interest rates will go even higher. Um, That's a question that I get all the time. Jasmine, I want to invest in real estate, but all I keep hearing is the interest rates are going extremely high. How am I going to be able to afford to get this done? And we'll talk about interest rates in a little bit, but what you have to remember and what you have to realize is that interest rates have gone up and down for forever, right? And so the thing about it is that you're going to be able to make money if you know how to make money with investing no matter what. So in a high interest rate climate, you'll be able to invest in real estate, and you have to really get really good at identifying deals. In a low interest rate environment, you're able to make money. What happens in a high interest rate environment is that you will be able to have you'll have a good deal, but when it's time to refi, the deal gets even better. And so you have to take that in consideration. A lot of people are like, well, I'm going to wait. Waiting is not going to make you rich. Waiting is not going to make you wealthy. Waiting is going to just be that you just put this thing on the shelf for yet another year and then take no action and still watch people year after year making money. Today we had a settlement. The gentleman that was selling the house to my client, he owned the house for 35 years. He bought the house 35 years ago for $3,500. He sold it today for $91,000. And that's because he took action back then, right? And so a lot of people are like, well, when's the best time to invest in real estate? It's today. And if the next best time is tomorrow, right? Because as soon as you get the knowledge, as soon as you have the confidence, as soon as you are secure in your decision, you need to be able to make the decisions to go ahead and move forward and invest in real estate, right? So, the last objection that I always get is I want to build real estate, but I'm not rich, right? And so a lot of us are like, well, I want to build wealth. I want to be rich, but I'm not rich. So we think that we need to be rich in order to become wealthy, and that's just not the case. So we're going to go over all of that tonight, and really tell my story, right? So this is me, Frazzle. I like candy. I was just eating some candy corn right before the session. I love candy, but this is me stressed out. I was actually on vacation with my family, and I was looking at my screen, and my kids took this picture. All right, so my daughter took this picture of me just like out of it because I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. I'm trying to figure out. I've been a realtor for now. At that time, it was probably, I think, maybe 7 years of me being a realtor. I've now been a realtor for over 13 years. And with me doing that, I was literally overworked, right? I couldn't even enjoy my family on vacation because I had to tend to clients and had to figure out what they needed and tend to them, right? I was definitely financially illiterate. I didn't know how to make my money grow. I didn't really have a real money plan, so a real budget. My credit was in the dumps. And I was really unsure of my next move to make. It was a very tough time for me emotionally. I went through a depression. Mentally, I had to, I still go to therapy because I was just unsure about where to go. What was my next move, right? Anybody been there, or am I by myself with this? Let me know and put in the chat. And please, we are in a very secured environment. So if you see someone please don't screenshot them and say, hey, look, so and so is sharing that she was in some financial dumps, because the reason why I have this for women is because we want to create a really safe environment for us. So I think that goes without saying, but for sure, you want to make sure that you are leaving confidence here and feel comfortable with sharing. But feeling unsure is like the worst feeling in the world, right? A lot of us go through this, and we try to do it on our own. We try to figure out all of everything that we have going on on our own, just like figure out our entire situation. And with that, I'm telling you, you have to get some assistance. It doesn't necessarily have to be, at the time, I didn't even have a mentor or coach or anybody. I had family that didn't know that I was going through what I was going through. And I finally leaned in on them, my mother, my aunts, in order for them to understand what I was going through, for them to be able to give their input into helping me. But had I not done that and just tried to deal with it by myself, I would have been in this same frazzled state forever, right? So here I am. I had $170,000 mortgage. I only, even in my business account, I only had $10, negative $111 in my other business account. And this is a story that most people don't tell, especially on social media. Nobody tells the story where you were like kicking the can, like literally, like, okay, what are we going to do? Right. I was close to foreclosure. I was trying to figure out what needed to happen, and it was just felt like an avalanche of everything coming down onto me. And so it started with me um feeling like, okay, I'm this real estate agent. I should be wealthy. I should be rich. You see the real estate agents, they have their cell phones, they have their computers, they're always busy, they're always in a beautiful house. I should be rich by now. But what I didn't realize is that it was not about the money that I was making, it was about the money that I was keeping every month, because I was not taking advantage of really taking a close look at my finances. I was giving a lot of my money back to Wells Fargo because of all the fees that I was paying, because I was paying, overdraft fees and things like that. Right. And so what happens is that we have this picture in our head, and we don't really realize and live in who we are. And so now that's why we're not being blessed, right? So I had this vision of a real estate agent, and God was like, well, yeah, you are a real estate agent, but you needed to be the way that I want you to be, right? He wanted me to be, he couldn't bless me if I was just pretending to be someone else. He can only bless Jasmine. And that's the only way that he can bless you, right? He can only bless you if you are staying true to who you are and not trying to be someone else. So even for me, I don't want you to be the type of investor that I am. I want you to be the investor that you are doing and walking the walk to be. Is that okay? And I don't mean to take you to church, but that's who I believe, and that's what I believe in. you know um I believe that there's a plan laid out for each of us, but if we don't walk into that journey and walk that path that's really outlined for us, that God has for us, we're not going to be able to be successful in it. Does that make sense, or am I like, I know it's like a little late. So I'm gonna try to get through this, but this is really important for you to recognize and remember that you have to walk your own path, and you have to really think about what your why is, right? A lot of us don't want to think about what our why is. When I ask this question, most people give me the generic answers. Oh, I want more money. Oh, I want my kids to, to have something. I want to leave my kids something. Oh, I want to quit my job. All of those things are awesome. But what is the real deep why? And I'm going to show you guys how to go deep into your why in a little bit. But this is important, right? Today, you're going to get uncomfortable. This is for you to get uncomfortable of where you are today. I'm telling you, if you get uncomfortable, then in 3, 5 years, you're going to see yourself in a very much so comfortable state. But you got to get uncomfortable today. So, is everybody okay with getting uncomfortable today? Put a yes in the chat if you are. So, I have two kids, and I guess about maybe 7 years ago, I decided that I was going to build wealth, right? I was a realtor and consultant for 12 years, built my real estate portfolio and multi-million dollar real estate portfolio in the last 4 years, and recently was named as a top 500 agent in Philadelphia. All these things mean nothing because I still needed to have the backbone, and I needed to live into my purpose of really helping people realize their purpose in their wealthy journey, or I was not going to be fulfilled. So I have helped hundreds of women. If you go on my social media, I've literally helped hundreds of women purchase their first home. It's literally something that I can do in my sleep. If someone calls me today and says they want to buy a home, I will have them in a home within 6 weeks tops. Right? I can do it with but what the next challenge for me was, okay, Jasmine, you can do that part, but can you really help women build wealth off of their home ownership? right? Because when I started out, I started with a duplex. I bought my first duplex. It was me and my daughter. My son was a baby, and we lived in that duplex for a long time. And my tenant downstairs, who was my cousin, paid rent. And when I had my son, I was unemployed. And so I had to like figure and juggle and do all the things. And I had him, and my daughter was in kindergarten, I believe. And then my cousin was paying the rent downstairs. He basically paid the mortgage, and unemployment kept the lights on. And this was life for like 2 years. Then life hit again, right? My daughter has dyslexia. She has special needs that she needs special education needs and support. And the Philadelphia schools were not cutting it. Anybody have kids in the Philadelphia schools? Let me know. So what happened was I had an advocate. I had an attorney who was an advocate in in Philadelphia and was like, "Hey, you're a realtor. You all need to move to Montgomery County, right? Because you'll be able to get better schools and really help get the support." At the time, I was paying for a therapist for my daughter. So all of the money that I had that I was making in real estate, which was not a ton, but it was enough, I had to spend a ton of money on private therapy because I had my kids in private school, right? um when it was time for me to like figure all of these things out, the bills were piling up, and I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? But my daughter's education and her well-being was so important to me that I was like literally willing to do whatever it took. So it was a lot. And I know I actually told this story. I was telling the story to a friend, and I hadn't really revisited because now my daughter is 21. I hadn't revisited in a long time, and he was like, "I never knew that." Right? So I didn't have a car. I was a realtor without a car. I would take the bus. They went to a small school in Abington. We would take the bus to the school. I would have my son in the stroller, my daughter walking by me. The school was maybe about a mile away from the bus stop, and every day I would walk her to school, and my son was in preschool, and we did this for every day, rain, sleet, or snow. Until one time a parent saw me and was like, "Hey, are you walking your kids? Like, this is far. Get in the car, we can help you." Right? And so I've been so blessed to have so many people in my life that have helped me, that that is why I am so generous, and I give back as much as I possibly can without even thinking twice of it, right? And so for years I did that until this advocate was like, "Hey, if you move to Montgomery County, you can get into those schools, and perhaps that will help you be able to help your daughter." And so we did, but I still had the duplex, right? So my tenant downstairs, and then I had a tenant upstairs, and that rent helped me pay the new mortgage for us over in Montgomery County. And that's how life has been. And so that was my first investment property. Someone asked the question, what's the best investment strategy? And I still feel like it is house hacking. I feel like if you're in the position to buy a duplex or a triplex or a quad, use a FHA mortgage to purchase it, and let that property be your first investment property so that you can leverage it for something more. That's exactly what I did. I had that property, my duplex, for years. And the thing that I didn't even think about at the time is that I grew up in a duplex, right? So my mom still has a duplex right behind Einstein Hospital. I She and I lived up top. My aunt lived downstairs, and she still has that property, and she rents it out, and it's more residual income for her retirement. These are things that people do, but we have to have like kind of plant a seed in our heads to be able to to make take these steps today. Same thing for my kids, right? Any questions so far as we're going through this? So, one of the things that kind of changed my life was reading this book, right? So, it's called The Richest Man in Babylon. And it really gives us the simple rules of money, right? It tells a story about, this rich man in Babylon and how he was able to get his riches. And so, a lot of the language in there can be a little like it was written a really really long time ago, so some of the language is like, what the heck are they talking about? But the seven simple rules are: save thy purse to fattening, start thy purse to fattening, so that means save money. Control thy expenditures, so don't spend more than you need or make, right? And we do that a lot. Anybody spending more than they need or make? Let me know. Y'all got to talk to me to keep this energy up. Let me know. Are you spending more than you need or make? And that could be putting something on a credit card and just like, okay, I'll get to it later, but then having it on the credit card and it's just maturing for time over time over time. Nobody's doing it. Okay. Just me. Okay. Make thy gold multiply. So that means invest wisely. Guard thy treasures against loss. So avoid investments that sound too good to be true. We have so many things that are presented us, especially in social media world. We're getting all of this stuff that's just coming in front of our face. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? And then, but also making your dwelling a profitable investment. So owning your home, right? These are seven simple rules of money. Ensure your future income. So protect yourself with life insurance and improve your ability to earn. So that means to strive to become a wiser and more knowledgeable person so that you can make better decisions with your money. These are the seven simple rules of money. This is what most millionaires and billionaires live by, because these seven simple rules allow us to be able to know that when we're making a financial decision, if it doesn't check off on this list, then we probably need to second guess it and see how we can tweak it to make it so that it does, right? You have to go ahead and take your time to have some rules to your household. Anybody most there's I think there I didn't see exactly who came in because I was trying to get started, but I see that there's a ton of women in here that are a part of my program already, and they know I have a rule or a framework for everything, right? And it's because it's easy for me to remember. And with it being so easy for me to remember, I am able to apply it and teach it to other people. And it doesn't, not even just my students, it's me teaching it to my children, me teaching it to my man, me teaching it to my family, like all of the people. It's like, listen, do this to help yourself. So putting some rules in place. Anybody have like family rules? Anybody have those? Spending more than I need. Okay. A lot of us don't, right? So start putting those things together, because it could be that, listen, this is what the Johnsons do, right? This is what the Starkeys do. This is what we do as a family in order for us to sustain our legacy and our income. So let's talk about your money story, right? So your money story could look like a couple different ways, right? But share in the chat, or even if you would like, we're gonna stay on until 8:30 tonight, just so you all know. But even if you would like to share with me a little bit about what your money story is, and don't be shy. I know that it's like, I don't know these people, but sharing your story sometimes allows you to be able to really illuminate what you have going on. So what does your money story look like? Like, are you right now financially where you want to be? Do you want to elevate? Do you do you want to make more money at work? Tell me a little bit about it, even if you're going to put it in the chat. Let me know. Because a lot of us are in the same boat, and because we don't have the conversations, we don't know that we're in the same boat. A lot of us think like, oh, no, so and so has it all together, and when you start talking to her, you're like, wait, you just like me. Right? And that's okay, because community is the way that we're able to hold ourselves accountable. When you have someone who's literally checking for you and you're checking for them, you're more likely to get things done versus if you're trying to do it on an island by yourself, right? So a lot of us don't know where to start, right? And I always say start where you are. And I ask these financial questions because you need to know exactly what your self-assessment looks like. How much money do I need to make to pay down one piece of debt? If I'm talking to you and you're asking me, Jasmine, I want you to help me invest in real estate, This is what I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you, what does your credit look like? What does the savings look like? How much can you afford to invest in real estate? What does your emergency fund look like? What are some of the things that I can help you improve on before we go on this journey? Because this journey is going to cost you some money. It's going to be an investment. And what I want you to realize is that it's a forever investment, right? So you're forever living the lifestyle of an investor. It's not one of those things that you just set and forget. You need to be able to have this financial assessment and improve your finances so that they are tight, right? So improving your credit, improving your actual cash flow or your savings, making sure that you have an emergency fund for what is really important if the car breaks down and things like that. So you're not scrambling and trying to figure things out. Becoming financially sound is something that's important that we seldom talk about. Most of us don't want to talk about that, right? We just are kind of living out here. We don't necessarily know where our finances are because we don't want to face them. Anybody not want to face their finances? Put that in the chat if you don't, because most of us are like, okay, yeah, Jazz, I don't really want to talk about the fact that I just overdrafted my account or that we took a vacation instead of paying down some debt. It's all of it is okay. But if you want different for your life, you have to go ahead and be uncomfortable in this, if that makes sense. Right. Um, you want to look at one first, of course, how much money you need to. So anybody have debt? Anybody have student loan debt? Put in the chat if you have student loan debt. Yes, I'm super ready to talk about it and get uncomfortable. I love that. You have student loan debt. Okay, Tiana. Yes. Yes, Shamika. Put the numbers. Throw out some random numbers. Hey, Rhonda. Throw out some numbers. Throw out numbers for student loans. Like how much in student loan debt? About 140. Hey, Alberta. About 140,000. It's low 80s. Okay, 80,000. Around 30 to 40,000. Not where I want to be, back to work in a few weeks, need to get started on fixing my credit. But first, I don't like talking about it. And I have student loan debt of 18,000. I understand. 40,000 for student loan debts. No degree to show. Okay, that's a thing. Anybody else want to share? Student loans are a huge thing. I was talking to someone about student loans today, and they were like, I was telling them that I was so adamant about setting my daughter up for her to not have student loans, and she doesn't, right? So one of our properties pays for her to go to college. And when I was myself, I didn't graduate from college, but I had student loan debts. And just like I think Lauren said, no degree, right? So I was able to get a lot of it forgiven and some, a lot of it paid down. But I had maybe about $17,000. I had a partial scholarship to Drexel University. I attended there for the first 2 years, and then I had my daughter, so I dropped out. But I didn't go back, right? And I had student loans for the other part. And with that, I was like, what the heck? Like, I have this debt and I can't get rid of it. And when I first bought my first duplex, it was hard, right? Because they wanted me to get on some sort of payment arrangement and all these things. And I was like, people always tell me, you don't have, student loans is just something you just going to have. And that's not the case. You want to have your debt paid down, right? You want to have, you don't, one, if you can prevent yourself from having student loans, that would be awesome. But the other thing that you want to take in consideration is that you don't want to just have this forever debt, because it will sit on your credit. If you're not applying for forgiveness, with some of the things that are out there, some of us are social workers and working in, the public sector. That's awesome. Make sure you're keeping those records so that you can go ahead and get that forgiveness. I think it takes about 10 years for you to do that. I know it sounds like a long time, but do it, right? But getting to the bottom of your debt is something that is essential. And in trying to like push it to the side and not forget, and like not address it, is something that you're going to find that is going to be, it's going to be detrimental at the end. Let me know credit card debt. How many people have a ton of credit card debt? No student loan debt, work paycheck to paycheck, and credit needs work. Okay. Anybody else have some credit card debt that's like 10,000, a ton. Anything over $1,000, I know that a lot of us are like, child, is just too much, right? Let me see. Most of mine are paid off. I have about 6K in credit cards. I have debt, but not that much. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. So when we're thinking about credit card debt, how do we minimize that down? Right? How do we minimize credit card down to the point that is not really an issue? I'm sorry, I thought that was my son. It's not really an issue, right? Credit, 5 years ago, credit used to not be a factor when you were investing in real estate because they were like what they say giving out loans. They were, your dog could get a loan, right? But now credit is such a factor. You can compare yourself to other people that are in the market. If someone has over a 720, they're getting a better rate. They don't have to put down as much, and they're able to, some of the fees don't apply to them. Someone who has under a 720 or even under a 680, you're going to have to put down more. You're going to have to put some interest reserves together. There's so many things that are factors. Working on your credit, and when I'm working with people, I address the credit head on. I want to know what the credit piece is going to look like for you, and we need to know that from day one so that we can make smart moves from the beginning and not just be like, oh, well, we're going to deal with it later. We need to deal with that from the beginning because credit is going to be a factor that affects you whenever, whichever way you look at it, right? Even with purchasing a property in your LLC, if you don't have a track record of doing that, you'll still be pulled as a guarantor for your business. And so they're going to look at it and make sure that you have the potential to pay this loan back because so many people defaulted during the pandemic. They're like, we're not going to take risk on people. And, if they are not able to pay their personal mortgage, my personal home's mortgage, will they really pay us? Right. And so you have to take in consideration. And for those that have credit challenges, we need to face that and we need to talk about that. And we need to get uncomfortable. We need to figure out what needs to be fixed, what needs to be paid down, and put together that plan. Now, yes, I do want you to invest in real estate. And I think there's ways for you to be able to do things simultaneously. However, if you are just going to take those steps and just, and really want to become an investor, you're going to have to maintain some decent credit. Does everybody follow me there? You have to really get into the fundamentals and the core of becoming an investor. It's not just having a bunch of properties and getting a check on the first, right? It's this is literally a lifestyle. And for those that are on here, I know Nashaya is on here. She just closed last week on her property. Let me see who else is on here. Um, Alberta is closing next week on her first property. They will tell you how this is something that I've been telling them. I've been working with Alberta for 9 months, Nashaya for a year. It's the same thing. I'm gonna just tell you the same thing over and over again because it doesn't change, right? What you do in your finances is going to allow you to be able to make other bigger moves, and it may require sacrifice. So it could require maybe not a vacation this year, maybe not the shoe habit from Amazon, maybe not the Target runs that get crazy, maybe not that new bag. All of the things. I'm not telling you, I want you to, what they call it, the soft girl life. I want y'all to live a soft girl life every single day. Like, I want Black women to live, and I want y'all to post it because I want to love it. I want to like it. I want to comment. I want to love it. But let's live our soft girl life wealthy. Is that good? Y'all feeling me? It's so hard because I can't see y'all. So I'm just like, I think they're getting it. And so just let me know if that makes sense, right? Because when you know what your goals are and you know exactly what needs to happen for you, now all you're doing is working backwards. So this is a duplex that I have over in Germantown. I bought it for $56,000. I used the hard money loan to purchase it. The lender financed 100% of the renovation, so $40,000 in renovations that were done for this property. And oops, and I, we renovated the property. As you can see, I had this mask on. I took down this wall because the demo guys said they were going to come and they didn't come, and I needed to get it done, and I got it done, right? So the payment on the hard money, it's now refied, so it's no longer the payment. The payment on the hard money was $875. I got a tenant upstairs. I'm sorry, downstairs paying. At the time, this was $950, but the tenant now is paying $1,100 from Section 8. I'm a Section 8 landlord. I love Section 8. And then upstairs, the Airbnb was bringing in $2,000. I stopped the Airbnb during the pandemic because I was nervous. They started canceling things. I got a question today. Someone asked the question, what do I think about short-term and long-term rentals? If you are investing in Philadelphia, you want to take a closer look to midterm rentals. If you want to do furnished rentals, Airbnb is not the way that it used to be. A lot of the regulations have changed in Airbnb. And so what happens, or what has happened, is that it's not the way that it was when it first started. What happened is that a lot of the hotel pockets started getting dry because people were staying in Airbnb versus staying in their hotels. And so people basically, when hotels got all together and got legislation, the government, and got people to be able to lobby for them to be able to change the rules. So now you need like $7,000 to pay for this permit. You're paying hotel taxes. You're doing all of these things, and it's not a bad regulation because essentially it's going to help the city, but it makes it a lot harder to be able to invest in real estate as an Airbnb host. And in cities like Philadelphia, where the regulations are new and they're changing all the time, it may not be the best move for you to build a whole portfolio based off of Airbnb because that's someone else's platform. The reason why I like midterm rentals is because it's my own platform and my own marketing. So for instance, I have a midterm rental over in Mount Airy. We That's the one that pays for my daughter's college. We rent that out for $29.50. And it's rented to doctors or traveling nurses. And that is a way for people to be able to be in my unit. I collect the rent, they're under a lease. I can evict them, I can do all the things, and they stay for short amount of times. So for instance, we have someone moving out at the end of the month. And then on October 2nd, we have someone else that's moving in. She's moving into the area. She is a safety something with the hospital. She has to come into the hospital until February. She'll stay. Her corporation or whoever's pulling her in is paying her moving costs. And they pay her rent every single month and send me a check, and she stays in our furnished rental. I like that better than Airbnb because there's not a high turnover. Yes, it's a little bit less money, but I'm more guaranteed to be able to get things in. I take a really large security deposit, and the property is pet friendly. So with the property being pet friendly, that means that I'm able to charge pet rent. So her little dog is going to be with her. I charge the dog $150 in pet rent, and she doesn't blink at it. She's looking to pay it. The other strategy that you can use is renting out to insurance. People that are affected by, their property being damaged by fire or water or wind or whatever, they need somewhere where to stay. Most people don't want to stay in a hotel for months and months on end. They want to feel like they're home. So what they do is they have to stay in what they call a midterm rental. So they may be in your midterm rental for 6 months or a year, and the insurance company pays you directly for them to be able to stay there. There's so many ways to make money in real estate, that Airbnb, while it used to be a good thing, I think in a market like this, like Philadelphia, where the regulations are being restricted, may not be the best strategy. Now, if you're going to do Airbnb in somewhere where it's already a vacation town, like the Poconos or down at the shore, Florida, South Carolina, some of the beach towns, things like that, where the regulations are already stable of what they want when it comes to Airbnb, then I would say go for it there. But in a city like this, where there's a ton of hotels, conventions, and things like that, those hotels are they have more money than us. And so they're going to win. And your method, a lot of people, you'll see people like selling furniture and stuff like that because they had all of their um all of their eggs in one basket, if that makes sense. So at the time, I had Airbnb here, and I became a super host. And this is the way that it was furnished. We were able to, get a beautiful layout together. And this is a similar layout that I did at the our midterm rental, and this worked for a really long time. Our cash flow on this property was $1,921, and this helped pay a lot of debt down, right? And so you can build the same method. This property is not far from LaSalle. You can build um, the same type of strategy for yourself, but you have to become determined to do it. Right. And so you may be thinking, like, well, what does determination look like when you're doing this? The determination looks like, well, listen, in addition to me having, my down payment. So for this property, I think I actually didn't come to the table with any money on this property because it was so, the price of it. But, um, the average person needs to come to the table with anywhere between 25 to $30,000 to close on their first rental property. You got to make the sacrifices to get to that first one, because if you do, the equity that's in that property, you're able to pull out of the property once you're able to fix it up. And so we're going to break that down over the next couple of days, but just think about what kind of goals you have as far as getting into that first property. What do you need? Right? A lot of us don't ask that question, or we're not willing to sacrifice. Um, Tell me, does if I had a deal for you today, would you be ready? Let me know. Let me know. Because in most cases, you probably wouldn't be, right? So I can sit here and tell you the basics of real estate. Hold on, let's see. No, it's okay. And it's 100% okay, right? But we have to put a plan together and know that even though we might not have the money today, life can change for you in just 90 days, right? One of the mini courses that I have is the 90-day transformation into an investor, right? Most of us don't want to take those steps and sacrifice. What can you do over a 90-day period to be able to put together, let's not even say 20,000, let's say 10,000. What can you do to be able to do that? Just drop some things in the chat that you are good at. I was talking to a client earlier, and she moved to a new town, and she's like, Jazz, I gotta figure out my side hustles here because my money is a little different, right? And so she moved to Texas, and she's like, I'm trying to figure this out. And so I just had her list 10 things that she was good at, and then we were able to develop a list of side hustles based off what she listed. So give me some things in the chat that you're good at. Notary more. Okay. Anything else? Tiana, I love that your credit is ready. Anything else? I'm not good at project management. That's okay. Baking. Anything else? Resumes. I like that. Okay. That's a good thing. Anything else? I need a side hustle. Absolutely, right? So this side hustle culture is where we need to lay, right? We need to reside there, because when we're able to make some extra money, a lot of times we are already stretched, right? So who's already stretched with what they have today? If you're looking at your budget or looking at your money plan today, what you already have today is like stretched out, right? You're like, Jazz, if you're asking me to save an extra $500, it's going to hurt, right? And so what we need to say, okay, what I currently have is not going to cut it, but what I can add is going to make us have more income, and that is going to be where you reside, right? This is going to be exactly where it goes for you to be able to get a side hustle. Stretched so very thin, custom printed garments. I love that. Oh yeah, I saw that with you and your husband, Lauren. That's awesome. Yeah, so whatever that looks like, right? Can we put some ads behind that? Can we put something behind that to accelerate that so that we can get to the goal? Because what happens with us, especially as women, is that we're so multi-passionate and we're good at so many things. How many people are good at like a lot of things? Like we're like literally like the go-to person in our families. The group chat, people are like asking for their advice. Most of us are good at so many things that it's hard to narrow down the things that we just want to focus on. But the kind of, I guess, the disposition of being multi-passionate is that what happens is that we go in so many directions, we don't get to one central goal. Right. So we're good at interior design. We're good at, writing resumes. I love that, by the way. Writing resumes. We're good at baking. We can braid some hair. We could do all these things. And then we're doing all these things. And then at the end of the year, it's like, I didn't even get to the essential goal of what I wanted to do. Anybody been there? You're good. Yeah, Shamika, you're good at a lot, right? And so most of us are good at so many things that we just we don't focus on one thing. And when you're trying to juggle so many things and not focus on one thing, typically you don't hit your target. Right. And so, like for myself, I'm good at a lot of different things. Like I can, especially just even in what I do, right? I'm good at fixing people's credit. I'm good at helping people do budgets. I'm good at strategizing people to go ahead and invest in real estate. I'm good at the first time home buyer situation with all the grants, all the things. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good at interior design. I'm good at layouts. I'm good at this. Da, 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 da. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean you have to do it, right? And so I had to learn that. I had to learn how to delegate to people, teach people what I was so good at, quote unquote, so that I could take it off my plate to live in my true zone of genius. Right. And so my true zone is really strategizing, really coming up with strategies so that you can be in the best position possible. But I don't leave the other things on the table. So our business is built around my expertise, but me being able to train the people that are working with me on my team to be good at the other things that I'm really good at. And so for you, when you're thinking about what that next side hustle is going to be, or how you're going to make, a next, chunk of money. Think about the things that one you can do, but then think about the other things that you can get help with. So your children or your husband or your wife, like whoever, your significant other, all of those folks needs to be a team. Right. And I can't stress that enough. I think that I don't talk about this enough because most people just want to do everything by themselves, but we know that we don't get far that way, right? And so you have to go ahead and centralize yourself down and say, listen, this is what I need help with. This is what I can do. And this is what this one can do. So and so can do this, blah, blah, blah. And all of these people are going to hold me accountable and get us to the central goal so that we can be in a better position. Anybody have a really supportive family? Let me know. And most people will say they don't. Oh, my family, I don't know, I don't mess with my family. But when you have a supportive family and people that are around you, most people want to see that you really do succeed. And in order for you to do that, you need to pull them in. Praise God, me. Absolutely. Right? Supportive, but no cash flow. I support them financially. And that's a thing, right? And so the money piece, that might not be where they are. They can support you and love on you. They need to support you because you're the one that's going to change the trajectory of your family, right? So they need to support you on your dream and on your goal. And in order for them to do that, it may not be money. It may just be, I need y'all to sit here while I'm doing the side hustle that I need to do. I don't know if you have kids, Tiana, but I need y'all to watch kids so that I could go out here and make some extra money so that we can bring this back so that we can go ahead and grow it in real estate. Whatever that looks like, you have to have those conversations and be honest with yourself of how things can go, right? So again, working backwards towards your goal is going to be the most ideal and key thing that you do in your investing journey. When you think about, I saw some of the student loan amounts. I saw one that was $80,000, right? So I had my cousin, she purchased a triplex. She lived in one unit. She rented out one of the units. She lived free because one of her units paid her mortgage, and the third unit went to the rent from the third unit went to her student loan debt. She was able to pay down the principal of her student loan debt in, like, I think it was like 3 years, right? And that was just become like taking no profit, living for free, making sure that she is able to, she actually made even more money because her unit was a 2 bedroom, so she took in a roommate, so that that roommate was paying her, and that was the extra money that she was having, and she got aggressive about paying down her debt. How many people are willing to sacrifice the space, because we want the big house, right? How many people are willing to sacrifice that for a couple years so that you can be debt free? Is that something that you want to do? When you think about owning real estate, those are some of the things that you can think about, because when you have $20,000 in debt and student loans, you can take the profit from a property and go ahead and put that directly onto your debt, so that you don't, it doesn't even come into your household, right? And that helps you be able to get out of debt a lot quicker. Does that make sense? So some of the misconceptions that people think is that you need a lot of money to start. So we already talked about it, right? So 20 to $30,000. If we had this conversation last year, I would have told you that you need about $20,000. It's increased because the inventory has lessened, and I'm going to always be honest with you, right? There are ways for you to be able to leverage credit, to be able to get into real estate investing, but I do want you to have a cushion, and I don't want you to spend all of your money on investing. I want you to go ahead and have a security blanket. I want you to have a fund, that is, I'm sorry, I'm lost for words. I want you to have a rainy day fund that you're not, investing every last dime, right? And so that's why I said it becomes a lifestyle, because you may get into that first property and drain everything, and you have to get your savings right back up. And that means whatever you did to get that first amount of savings, you have to go ahead and apply it to the next. Right. And so you have to keep doing it in order for you to do it. So it may be a grind and hustle for 3 years that you are selling more shirts, Lauren, right? Shamika, you going through and getting more notary clients, because that is what the thing is fueling you. And you're buying rental properties, and you keep doing it. And you keep doing it until you get to the point where you have the rental properties and you can chill, right? And that's why it's so important to know what that chill number is, right? So if you're like, okay, I need $10,000 in order for me to kind of have a seat, then what does that look like? Does that look like 10 duplexes that cash flow $300 each? Probably. If it's 10 duplexes, that's 20 units. They're each unit, hold on, I'm pulling up my little calculator. Each unit cash flows $300 each times 20. So that's $6,000 a month, right? You can you can say to yourself, I'm going to purchase 2 duplexes a year in order for me to reach this goal. It really is just that simple. Does that make sense, ladies? Let me know if does this sound more feasible, or does it sound like Jazz, no. Let me know, because I want it to be real, right? These next 3 days that we're going to spend together are going to be the realest talks that you hear in real estate investing in the entire internet, YouTubes and all the things. It's going to be real life, right? And you're going to be able to experience this, because I don't want you to go with thinking that you can just do all of these like real estate magic tricks and then you're like making money hand over fist. We want to live in the debt free zone, or the less debt zone, and not in the over leveraged zone. So does this feel more like closer to reality than just like not? Let me know. And so the other thing that I get a lot of is it's too risky. Anybody feel real estate is too risky? Anybody feel like it's too risky? No? Okay. And anybody feel like it is though? Yes, I've been so nervous to start. Okay. Sakina said no. Um, okay. So Tiana, tell me what is the nervous part? Tell me what the fear is or feel like it's too risky. Tell me what that part is. Because real estate investing, um, I would say it's medium risk. When we talk about risk tolerance, a lot of it is just the knowledge. You have to be able to analyze a property so that when you are making a move or when you are investing in property, you can predict what is going to happen with the property. You can predict the cash flow, you can predict the appreciation value of a property. And appreciation is basically if you just did nothing to the property, in most areas, properties appreciate or increase in value without you doing anything. And so you have to being responsible for such a large lump sum. This is my first time buying a property, investing in it. Okay. So let's look at this scenario. One of the things I got a bunch of questions. I had asked you all for questions, and only one person, of course, Alberta, because she's so awesome. She asked me the questions. So I want make sure when I ask for the questions tomorrow, send them to me. I really don't do want to know. I read everything. So send them, shoot me an email back and let me know what your questions are. But one of the things that she asked was, what is the best investment strategy? And actually, Alberta, to answer your question, the best investment strategy is the one that you're about to do, right? So I hope it's okay. I'm sharing your scenario or your breakdown of your loan. But basically, Alberta next week. It was supposed to be Friday, but it's going to be next week now. Is closing on a duplex over right behind Temple Hospital. It's in a tax credit zone, so it's in an opportunity zone. So that means that the dollars in those areas, the area is about to start booming. It's right not far from like Broad and Erie. If you guys don't know, Broad and Erie is about to hit some heavy developments. They're putting a Marriott in that really tall building, that one that says Boner on it. That is going to be a Marriott, right? It's going to be a hotel. And so Alberta's duplex is literally right behind that building. And this is real life of how her numbers break down. So she's purchasing the property. It's completely finished. It's gorgeous, right? And so she took my advice. The one thing that I love about Alberta is that she's 100% coachable. And she just literally was like, okay, you said to do this. This is what I'm going to do. She's purchasing the property for $296,000. And she has to put down 3.5%. Her interest rate is 6%. These are some of the fees. So she has an appraisal fee of $500, her final inspection fee of $145, her credit report is $150, her commitment fee of $1,000, her conveyancing fee of $625, her flood and tax service of $153, her employment verification of $150, her title insurance is $1625, and her transfer taxes are $6,300. All of this equals, hold on, let me see. All of this equals on this side, and you guys will see a lot of my little spreadsheets. I'm crazy. Hold on, where is it at? But basically, all of this equals, oh, right here, $17,231. She applied for a grant. She got approved for the grant. And I won't lie, she didn't get the grant because this property stretched a little bit beyond what what she was originally approved for with the grant. So it's important to dance within the numbers when you are doing this. Had she got the grant, she would only need about $11,000 to close. She would have gotten a $10,000 grant. Because she opted and she still wanted to go forward with this property, she has to bring $21,000 to the table. But this still is a great opportunity for her, because if she would have purchased, a $300,000 property on her own, and she would have done it as an investor, like how some of our investors do, she would have had to come with like 20%, which would have been like $60,000 plus closing costs. So I was able to get the seller to cover a lot of her closing costs, so she doesn't have to bring as much to the table, but it's still a considerable amount. So I think she has to bring about $18,000 to the table in total, and she will cash flow on this property. The bottom unit, I think she's right, not the bottom unit. Alberta, you can correct me. The bottom unit is going to be rented as a midterm rental to doctors that are visiting in the hospital in that area. And then she will live up top. This is a perfect scenario for someone who is like, you know what? I want to sacrifice for a little bit so that I can, you're renting the bottom unit. So I want to sacrifice for just a little bit so that I can go ahead and get to the greater later. She is doing FHA. Yes. So this scenario breaks down, and she just happened to ask the question, what's the best investing strategy? To me, it's still the house hacking, still duplexes, being able to get in at a low dollar amount. And like I said, if this would have like worked in a perfect world, she would have been able to get the grant. I think, Alberta, you can share if you would like. I think what happened with that is that we were over the amount for what the grant approved her for, and so we weren't able to get it. But if she would have got it, she would have had even less to bring to the table, and essentially, would have been able maybe to get into the property for about $10,000. Again, the reason, yes, we went over the amount. The beauty of this is that when we started working together in the beginning of the year, I encouraged her, I kind of forced her, twisted her arm to save a really good nest egg. So when we were challenged with this of like, do we go forward with this property or do we turn away? She was able to tap into some of the savings that she had, and she was able to still be able to do this. So she'll close next week. She will cash flow on this property. Her return on this investment is going to be tremendous, and she will stay in the property for a year. And even if she moves out after the year is up, she will make even more money. She'll probably be able to rent that bottom unit for about $2,000 furnished, and she can rent to doctors, and nurses or visiting nurses that are in the area that are working at Temple Hospital. It's perfect, and it's like I said, it's beautiful. It's already 100% done. This is a scenario that if you're starting out, I'm ready for the second one. See, um, she hasn't even closed on the first one, right? But this is a scenario. If you're starting out, you take this and you run this to the max, right? Buying a duplex is a real, like, this is the thing that you should be doing. Even a lot of people don't want to do it, like, oh well, I want like the big house or whatever. I get it, but if we can sacrifice for 2 or 3 years, like I said, my duplex started me there. We were able to move to Montgomery County into a bigger home. And then we moved one more time into the home that we're in now. But it was because of the rental income that I was able to show that was able to really afford me to be able to do these things outside of what I was doing just on my income. Do you all understand and under like follow what I'm saying? Or is just a bunch of like, Jasmine, it's a lot of numbers? Let me know, because I'll break it down and I'll take my time. Because the one thing that I want you to take away is that sacrifice is what is going to get you to the goal, right? It's not just I'm going to just do one thing and, magically I'm going to become wealthy. No. Any person that you talk to has some form of sacrifice in their business, in their life, in their personal finances in order for them to get to where they're at today. And that's the one thing that most people don't talk about is the sacrifice. We don't talk about the delayed gratification. We all talk about the big cars and the big houses, but what do we have to do to get there? You have to make a lot of sacrifices if you want generational wealth. I love that, right? Because when you think about the sacrifice today, even if it's just 5 years, if she just does this, she just buys a duplex, 1 a year, she'll have 5, she'll have 10 units, or 10, 10 actual doors. And if she's cash flowing $2,000 off of each property, just doing the midterm rental, that's $20,000 that she has generated for herself over a 5-year period. How many of us are making $20,000 a month in our sleep? Not many of us, probably, right? And that's okay. But that's the sacrifice. Alberta, I was like, okay, put your savings on automatic, and direct deposit into your account. What else did I do? It was a lot of things that I told her to do. And she was like, okay. And every week, every couple weeks when we would meet, she would be like, okay, I did it. And then we turned around and she had $20,000 saved. And then she had like 25, and then it was like 30. It was like, she just kept going. And she's going to have to keep going, because now she's going to deplete putting the down payment down. And she's going to have to keep going as she walks into this new season. But she's already ready for the next one. I didn't think about it. I just did it. Right? What can you not think about in your finances that you can just do and put on automatic? That's where the real wealth is gained, when you automatically do it and don't think about it. Because if it takes you to actually transfer over, how many people think that they're going to delay doing that transfer? Right? If I said just put 250 away every paycheck, we're going to start off good. And then, oh my God, my son, he needed new sneakers. Jazz, the car. But if you just automatically do it, then it's like it's in that account that's like the hidden account, and that money is not as much of a temptation. How many people, I always tell this story. How many people go to Target, see something on sale, and transfer the money from the savings to their check-in? Right? You like, oh shoot, I'm gonna put it back. Next paycheck, I'm gonna put it back. How many people do that? And then you're like, oh shoot, I can't put it back because the next paycheck, something else comes up. But so what I did with Alberta, and I can't wait. I'll talk her into letting me do a case study interview with her. But what I did with her, I was like, put it in an account that it takes a little work for you to get the money, right? And so she was like, what do you mean? So I think we did a Capital One 360 account. And she has this account that you have to request the money in order for you to be able to get it. So it takes 2-3 days for you to actually get it. 3 to 5 days. See? 3 to 5 days. That way, you're not in Target buying those impulse spends. I was in Target last night. I swear, my son said he needed soap and deodorant. I grabbed the basket. I didn't want to grab a cart. Got the basket. I was 2 arms by the time got to the cash. Like, how did that even happen? Right? And so that's all of us, right? But when you discipline yourself and you only spend what you have allocated yourself to spend on things like that, then some things got to wait. I bought this dress. I was like, oh, I have a closing today. I'm gonna just buy a new dress. I feel good about myself. Like, that wasn't really what the plan was, right? And so you have to go ahead and be real with yourself and know that you're going to be tempted, right? We all are. And Alberta was like, girl, I know that I could do this, but I'm gonna be tempted. And when she got a raise, what I tell you when you got a raise, Alberta? I was like, don't let that raise, don't start living as if you got the raise. Live on the income before. I think she got a new job and she got a significant amount more money. And I was like, hold up, don't spend like you making that money now. Spend like the money that you was making before. And that's how she was able to aggressively save. And how many of us get a raise or get a new job and then start spending to that income, instead of, we was doing fine on the income we was doing before, but we start spending to the next thing instead of investing the difference, right? And so you have to be mindful of that. And that's where the wealth is built. That in between number is where the money, the real wealth, is going to be built, because we're disciplining ourselves enough to be able to get to the finish line. Any more questions about this? This is something that, like I said, is real life. She's here. You can message her. She, is not fake or anything like that. She's actually closing next week, and she will be able to rent out her unit and be able to cash flow something nice. And when you are doing something for yourself, you have to put some barriers in order for you to get to the next level. In order for you to do that, you have to figure out what your triggers are, and you got to figure out what your numbers are. I'm not telling you to deprive yourself. I'm not the coach that's going to tell you to not spend money or not treat yourself or not do nice things for yourself because you deserve it. But what am going to tell you is make more money. Right? So if you want the nice things in life, then you're going to have to hustle and get the money to get it, and not use your credit cards to be overextended, if that makes sense. So I promise I'm almost done. So the other question that we got, so I think I answered that, but the best market or niche is, I feel like it's midterm rental, not short term or long term, but in the midterm space. The best investment strategy for right now is still house hacking. If you already own your home, or if you are like, I'm not living with nobody else or what have you, then the next best strategy, of course, for me, and that I think it is to rent out property and not flip it. And we'll talk about some of the strategies surrounding that tomorrow night. But I don't believe that you should flip, because you can pull the equity out of a property in order for you to get the cash flow that you're looking for. But that's a whole another conversation. I think rental properties are the way to wealth, not necessarily like fixing them up and selling them. A lot of people do that first so that they can get the capital to be able to have rental properties. But it's I think investing is a personal scenario. There's not like a blanket situation that is, okay, this is what you should do. Everybody should do the same thing. I don't believe that. I think that we need to look at your financial picture individually to be able to determine what your next goal should be, or what your next move should be, right? Hold on. Oh, and then the question, hold on. The question, how can you use credit to buy a property? There's a number of ways, right? So credit can be used. Business credit is what I would suggest if you're going to use credit. I personally don't believe that you should use business credit or personal credit to buy your first property. And the reason why is because if you're not used to paying multiple credit cards and multiple loans and things like that, it can become very overwhelming. And ask me how I know, right? My first property, I bought the property, and then I got hard money. I was paying the hard money lender, and I maxed out my credit cards to do the repairs on the property. Because I didn't know really what I was doing, I was so stressed because I had maxed out my credit cards, and my credit had declined, right? And I wasn't used to paying the credit card bills at that high amount and the hard money at the same time, and I didn't have a tenant. So I'm trying to juggle all of these things all at once, and the balls almost fell, right? And so I don't believe in over leveraging yourself, because if you're not used to paying all of that debt, it can become problematic. So you have to go ahead and gauge yourself. Now, if you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna still work my side hustle. I just need to be able to get this money right now. Or if you have a retirement account and you can pay it back, out of your paycheck or something like that, that's a different story. But just using and over leveraging credit to this max can be dangerous. Anybody think about leveraging credit in order to purchase real estate? Let me know. And so the other thing that I get is it's too complicated. So how many people think that real estate investing is too complicated? That's a real thing, right? It's not really that complicated. It's really just simple math, but you have to pay attention to what you're doing, right? Analyzing is going to be key. And I'm going to show you guys how to analyze property, I think tomorrow night. I'm going to show you all how to do that, but you have to pay attention to what you're doing so that you know exactly what is a good deal and what is not. Every deal that someone tells you, oh, they're getting $2,000 in rent. Like, what's the backing? Where are the numbers? What's the data that's really showing you that this is truly what people are getting? If you don't analyze, then you're not going to be able to know what a true good deal is. And that's when it becomes complicated and it becomes really risky, right? And so putting yourself in that position to analyze every single day is going to be able to, and they know that. The ladies know that. I tell them that all the time. You have to analyze all the time, right? um One of the things is simplifying the complex, right? If you're not sure about what you're doing, ask the questions and ask the professionals, ask someone who's actually doing it that's willing to teach you. And there's a lot of people. So if you're not sure about the taxes, ask an accountant. If you're not sure of some of the legal implications, ask an attorney. There's a lot of free legal advice out there that can help you be able to navigate what is happening. If you're unsure about market conditions and things like that, ask a realtor, right? I personally limit myself to helping the women in my program, and the women that, my actual clients. So I typically don't just take on extra clients because there's typically about 20 women in the program at a time. So I'm helping them, really navigate through. But there are a ton of realtors that know how to invest in real estate, and you just need to tap into one of them, right? But asking someone and really allowing them to pour into you and get the questions answered, you want to talk to the experts. You don't want to talk to somebody that did it once and they kind of know. You want to talk to the expert, and it could be, someone who's a professional in that area. Any questions? I was gonna go through another part, but I'm gonna leave that for tomorrow because it's getting a little late. Any questions, any live questions that I can answer right now? And you can unmute yourself if you want. If you raise your hand, I can unmute you, so that you can ask your question live. Okay. Yay. People are all right. Hey, Lauren. Hold on. I'm asking you to unmute. Let me know. Tiana. Asking.
Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Tiana.
Perfect. Hello. Thank you for having this.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. My question is, my family is putting my grandmother's house up for sale.
Okay.
It needs to be renovated. And this will be my first investment property. I was thinking about it. I haven't approached them about it yet because I wasn't sure of the best way to make a great investment. Like you mentioned, house hacking. Like this is a house. It wouldn't be in the area that I can zone into a duplex.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure like how I could leverage, if I could leverage it.
Okay, let's talk about it, right? So do you know how much is it it's your grandma's house, and whose mother is it? Your dad or your mom?
My father's mother.
Your father's mother. So your father has siblings, or is it just him?
My father's actually deceased, so it's his two siblings, my two uncles, who own the house.
Okay, so your two uncles own the house, and they're thinking about selling. Do you know how much they're going to sell it for?
No, not yet.
Okay, so that is going to be the first factor, right? Knowing how much they're going to sell the property for is going to be able to help us determine if this is going to work. A lot of times when people are selling properties in the family, especially if they see that you have interest, they will try to work with you and say, okay, well, if you want to buy it, like, let's, figure it out. But it really still comes down to the numbers. Because
Right.
if you are, if they're selling you a property that is, just say that, and of course, I don't know, I don't even know the address, right? So if they're selling you a property that for $50,000, right? And the property needs another $50,000 in renovations. But the properties in the area really are only worth $80,000 renovated. And again, I'm just throwing out numbers. Now you have to put more money into the property than it's worth, right?
Right.
And so in some cases, what I see, especially in families, is that people think their properties are worth more than what they are, and then they go ahead and oh no, we could get 50. And it's like, well, wait, grandma didn't necessarily update this since the 60s, right? And so we need to do some renovations here, and it's going to cost me. And so sometimes that conversation can be a little difficult to have. I would say you want to look at what the after repair value of the properties are in the area. If you care to share it now, I can go through it now and let you know exactly how much properties are worth in the area. I can do that.
I got the you need the address or the zip?
The address.
3853.
Hold on one second. Let me pull up the my little search tool here. Okay. Okay, tell me what the address is.
3853 North 17th Street.
Okay.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. So when we're looking at comps, or what we call the after repair value of a property, we're looking at the properties that have closed and that have been renovated in the area, right? So let's just look. There's about 41 matches in the area. I'm going to minimize this down. Hold on. Okay. So the highest property in the area has gone, and I can look up the square footage of the house, but let's just say it's 1,300 square feet, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's 4-bedroom,
It's a
1.5 bath.
Okay, so it's close to like this one right here on Bristol.
Close to that one.
Okay,
yeah.
So this one went for 175, right? So the math that you would do on this would be to figure out, we're working backwards, right? So we know in this area that properties go for 175. How much work would you guesstimate, if you just had to throw a number out, how much work needs to be done on the property, or how much would it cost you to renovate the property?
I know nothing about this guy, so this is just me throwing it out there. I would say 80,000. My grandma even had an old gas tank. Upstairs plumbing needs to be done.
Okay, so it needs some work. Yeah. Okay, so if that were the case, we would need to work.
They are selling it as is.
They're selling it as is, so no repairs.
It is, yep.
So what I would do is apply what they call the 65% rule, right? So what you would do is you would take $175,000 and multiply it by 65%. So that number, so the 113,750. If the property needs, in fact, $80,000, oops, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. 175 times 65% is 113,750, right? So 113,750. If the property needs $80,000 in work done, the maximum offer that I would make on the house is 33,750. Anything over that is going to go into a little bit of a danger zone for your investment to be able to cash flow for you, right? So I'm assuming that you're going to rent this out, correct?
Yeah, that would be my plan.
So let's just look, and did you have a preference on Section 8 um or private pay, or it didn't really matter?
No, I didn't. I really didn't have a preference.
Okay.
How did you just took the you took the 65%. I saw you did the 65% times the 175. It got you 113K. How did you get to the 33? I missed that part.
Yep. So I took the 33, I took $80,000 away from the
Got it.
65%. Yep. So that's just us throwing out numbers. We don't know, whatever it is. But my maximum offer to my family would be $33,750. Right. And if it's a 4-bedroom in 19140, just looking at the Section 8 chart, now we know that Section 8, that's what they call a Group 1, which is the basic rents area. And Section 8 is going to go through an increase every October. They go through an increase. So next month it'll increase a little more. But that means that 4 bedrooms in this area get $1,600. You do need to take away about $200 for what they call the utility allowance. So that means that you would get $114 from Section 8 in rent per month. Now, I can pull up, if you bear with me just a second, I can pull up a analyst sheet so that we can analyze the deal thoroughly. Let's look at this. All right, so this one has some old stuff in here. But so if we are getting $1,400 in rent, and then let's leave the purchase price blank. The after repair value was the 175. Okay. And our actual rehab budget is $80,000. And then let's just look up the taxes. Hold on. Tell me what the taxes are. I mean, what the address is again, Tiana.
3853
Okay.
North.
Was that
North 17th Street?
17th. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the taxes on the property are $1,215. So we're going to plug that in here. And then this is kind of what our cash flow. So the purchase price. So if they just said, okay, you can have it for the 33,000. So in this little spreadsheet, this is a part of like our mini course, but a part of a larger thing. And I'll give you a link if you all are interested in purchasing a lot of these templates and spreadsheets that I use. But if you look right here, you see right here where it says the income analysis, the maximum allowable offer is that $33,000 number. So just say they take that number, right? The property, if you did it Section 8, would cash flow you $224 a month. So after you pay your mortgage, which would be $834, pay the taxes of $101, the insurance of $100, and get a maintenance reserve. So I recommend that if you are going to own a property or invest in real estate, that you reserve and you keep money to the side just in case things come up, the roof leaks or the water heater bursts or things like that. After all of that is said and done, the total income off of this property is $224 a month, right? Mm-hmm. If this all worked out, and so this spreadsheet allows you to see that it passes both rules of 1% of the rent, 1% of the purchase price is greater than 1% of the rent, and it passes what we call the 65% rule. And I'll go over this again. I'm not going to just give this to you and just like, you know what I mean? Like not go over it again. But to answer your question, if they did take $33,000, this would be worth it. Now, if they say, no, grandma's house is worth $50,000 per se, then it wouldn't be such a good deal. If you look at your cash flow, it went down to $104 on this property. That's after it's all said and done. we typically want to be $300, right? And so
Mhm.
if someone comes in, if a contractor comes in and says, well, no, it doesn't need 80,000, it really needs 60,000, then it goes back to working again. So
Okay.
the numbers have to make sense on a deal, and that's why analyzing is so important, right? Because now like, okay, if we go in, you have your contractor go in, and your contractor says, hey, no, you don't need $80,000 worth of work in here. We can get it done for 60. Then you can go a little higher on your offer to your uncles, right?
Mhm.
But if the contractor comes in, what if the contractor comes in and says, no, Tiana, you need $100,000 renovation in this property. Now you're like, oh, I can't even offer them the 33. I gotta offer them $13,000, and they're not gonna let it go for that. But if they did, you would be able to back it with some numbers and not just a hypothetical, like, let me just throw a number out here because this is what we need to do to clear up some debt, or what have you. And so the conversation for me, or how I would start it, is, hey, have you guys like had a contractor come in and see how much it would cost to kind of get the property back to, to a condition where we can rent it out? Oh no, Tiana, we never did that. You know what? I have a contractor. Would you mind? I'm thinking about investing in real estate. This will be an awesome way for me to get into the business. Would you mind if I had my contractor come in and give us an estimate on how much it would cost? Now you have a backing. Now you have something,
Mhm.
a written estimate that says, hey, it's going to cost us $80,000 to renovate this property. And that's probably how much, from what you described, that's probably how much it'll cost, right? So now you
Mhm.
can say, okay, it's gonna cost me 80,000. I want to still cash flow. So because of that, I need to pay, like I said, that 33,000 and see what
Mhm.
they say. But now you're not just going because not going off of numbers where you're just kind of pulling them out the sky. This is backed by percentages and backed by an investment strategy that helps you understand that even if all hell breaks loose, you still will make money and within the 65% rule. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And it was a great breakdown. I really needed to
To
visually
see
see
that
this.
visual, yeah, it
Yeah, I
helps.
wasn't
Hmm.
sure, I've been following for a while, so back in my head is like, don't let grandma's house go. But then I'm
No,
also
please don't.
my first investment strategy was also house hacking. It was the
Mm.
same thing that Alberta did.
But Alberta,
That was my first thought.
and
And
it.
then grandma's house came up, and I'm like, what do I
Well,
do?
how were you thinking to finance it? Were you thinking to finance it as an investor, or were you thinking to purchase it FHA and live there? Like, what were you thinking?
That was all open.
Okay.
Which what I could get financially, salary wise, I think I would definitely do good. Like paper wise, I look good,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have as much cash saved
Okay.
up. I spent these last 2 years paying off credit cards,
Okay.
so now I'm building back
Just
up into
building it back up.
that.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if if you if just say if you were like, okay, I wanted to stay there, right? I would do what they call a 203k mortgage in the property. And I would purchase that house um with a 203k with 3.5% down. The 203k allows you to get the renovations done by a certified contractor. It's all one loan, and you just have to get the project done within 6 months. And then you have to occupy the property for a year. House hacking, the ideal situation is a duplex. However, house hacking can also look like, having roommates, right? So
Mm-hmm.
having folks that live in the in the different rooms. I'm not sure if you're single or whatever, or have children, but that's another thing that you can Airbnb a room in your home. And that's a house hacking as well. One of the things, I'm not sure, and we'll talk up. I'll send out an email, because on Saturday, if you all want to join us with our cohort members, we're going to tour a project basically the garage was turned into a midterm rental unit, and there's a on the top floor or on the like the main area of the house is another rental unit. So it's not a traditional duplex, but because you're able to rent out your garage in Philadelphia, they just insulated it in order for it to be a midterm rental. So there's so many ways to still be able to kind of house hack without breaking any laws, for one, but for two, for you to still be comfortable and be able to just generate that wealth so that you can be able to make more money. So there's a ton of ways for you to do this. On paper, if
Okay.
you look good, I would go to Root. I would get a grant. I definitely wouldn't let this property go, especially if they're going to work with you on the number. Um, and you want to be conservative, but you also want to be smart about it, because you don't want to, a lot of times what happens is that you're in these situations and you like kind of overpay, and now you are over improving the property for the neighborhood, and sometimes it that can be worth it from a sentimental aspect, right? So if you're like, I want to keep grandma's house in our family, and she had some debt on the house or something like that, and that's why I had to pay more, then that could make sense. I'm not going to, rule it out. But for the most part, she probably didn't have any debt. And because of that, now you can go ahead and benefit from the equity that she has and allow them to work with you. Right. But again, that's really tapping into your resources to say, like, and just be vulnerable. Like, hey, I really want to keep grandma's house. I know you guys need to sell it. I'm willing to offer you this amount of money, but this is what needs to happen in order for me to do it. And there's so many ways. Like I said, you can do an arm's length transaction. Arm's length transaction means that you can get them to pay all of your closing costs. You only have to come with a small amount, and maybe the grant will cover that, so that you don't, if you're not like, especially since you're paying down your credit cards and things like that, if you're not necessarily like a lot of cash, like cash money, cash money, but your credit is good, now we could do an arm's length transaction, because it is a blood relative that, that essentially owns the property. You can do that, and that's basically where all of your closing costs can get paid by your relative, and even the down payment, and it's built into the loan, and you're able to do that renovation loan so that it is good. But that's not necessarily for you. That would be that you would be living at the property, not an investor, right?
Right.
If you're investing in it, of course, you're going to need more money down. But again, there's ways to kind of work that out, especially when it's a family situation. So there's real estate. That's the beauty of real estate. That's why you see so many people becoming wealthy so quickly in real estate, because there's just so many ways to do it, and there's so many entry points.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Did I give you a lot to think about? Think about it.
Yeah.
Shoot me an email.
Numbers to take him.
Yeah, shoot me an email. Let me know if if you're unclear. I would, be more than happy. And we can go ahead and do that. Lauren, did you still want to ask your question? I see you're like in a similar situation as Tiana. You want to still, okay, that's cool. So I tried to unmute you. Let's see if it'll allow you to unmute, Lauren. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey,
So-
so yeah, the breakdown was really helpful.
Okay.
Like I said, we're in a similar situation.
Okay.
A house that we had that we were renting in Philly, the owner wants
Right.
to sell it. They haven't given us a price yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been looking at comps in the area, and they range really anywhere between, let's say, 220 and like 175. Depending on
The
upgrade.
finishes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You want to shoot me that you know the address? You want me to look at it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is a single family, right?
Correct.
Okay. What's the address?
It's 1525 Nedro.
Okay. All right. So, oops. So when we're looking at closed in the area, and how many bedrooms was that one?
It's a 4-bed, 1-bath.
Okay. All right. So in that area, there's varying, right? So a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, at 16, which is like literally around the corner, 1613 Grange. That one went for 310, right? So let's just look at the inside to kind of see what's up. Okay. And this, I mean, it's nice, but it's not like brand new everything. It still has some of the, it just looks like it was upgraded, but not like, some of the original stuff, like the original hardwood floors and things like that,
Right.
which is great, right? And so just say the house goes for 310, right? And you live there, so how much do
I
you
think we at the 80,000.
like the 80,000? Okay. So if we're at 80, and that's hold on, let me just double check. That's that's for one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see what the rent. So
it has a garage, but the garage is falling apart basically. So it would need to be
repaired. Okay, but that would be another source of income. So rent garage income is awesome, because you can rent out to like somebody with like a motorcycle that just their wife is like, hey, I don't want this thing in my house, and you can rent that out to them for $150, $200 a month and just get that residual income. And it's just like one thing in there. But let's look at like 19141 for section 8. So a 4-bedroom for 19141 is for section 8, is given 1,700. We take away $200 for the utility allowance, and so that means that section 8 would give us about 1,500 for the rent amount, right? So if we are going by the 65% rule, the maximum allowable offer for this would be like 120, right? So if they took 120, that would meet our rule. But let's look at the cash flow, right? So let's just look at 120. The cash flow is negative, right? Because if you see right here, it's negative $318, which means that you wouldn't be making any money. You would actually be paying money to have the loan. So the other thing to consider, though, is that there's $110,000 in equity. So if they did sell it to you for 120 and you were able to put $80,000 into the property in order for it to be repaired, then you could flip it, make the 110, or it would be less because of course you have to pay a realtor to list it and transfer taxes and things like that. But just say you made $90,000. You flip the property. Now you go ahead and take that 90 and buy 2 rental properties and then go live your happy life, right?
Yep.
So or let's just look at one more scenario, then I promise to let y'all go because I can literally be on here all night with this. If we took the same address, let's look at what market rate does as far as rents in the area. So let's see what's closed. So properties are renting in that area. Let's look and see. So we have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. How much were you guys paying for rent?
2,000.
2?
Yep.
Okay. So 2150 is right on par, or maybe even a little higher because it would be renovated, right? So it may be that market rent is the way to go on this one. So if it was, let's just say we were able to get 2150. Let's just plug that in. So if we did market rate on it, then it does cash flow at $266. Still not as nice. I really like it to be above $300, but it does technically still cash flow. So that would be, you would be able to hold it as a market rate rental property, not Section 8, but for market rate. Or I feel like, let me see when that property actually rented. It took 49 days to rent, and they signed a 12-month lease. I guess maybe I would maybe 2,200 could, that gets us over $300. But you have to say, okay, if the seller says, well, we don't want to sell it for 120, we want to sell it for, 90,000, right? So now the numbers make a lot more sense because now you're making $531 a month versus that 3, and now life gets better, right?
Yep.
And so that comes down to the negotiations, but the only way to negotiate is to know you're analyzing and know your numbers intimately. Does that help
Right.
you?
It does.
So how were you thinking to finance this one?
Not sure yet.
Okay. Yeah, no. So thinking about it from an investor standpoint, if you did finance it as an investor, you could, you know, you could maybe put down 20%. So you would be putting down 20% of the 90,000, or you could put down 15%, but it all depends on the credit, right? So the credit is going to determine how much the bank is going to ask you to put down, and then we can make that determination. That's why I said that investing is very much so personal, because it comes down to that person's or that
Personal,
family's, that family's situation and financial scenario.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
that makes absolute sense. I appreciate that.
No problem. Good to hear from you. Any other questions before I let you all go? I appreciate you. I know it's a lot of information tonight. I will definitely try to condense it tomorrow, but there's a lot to cover. Like I said, on Saturday, if you all are able to join, just shoot me a message. A lot of you have already enrolled for Saturday, because that's where I'm able to like showcase the properties and show you how to break down and talk to contractors and all the things. And if you want to come, just let me know. Hey, Ebony. Hey, Alberta. Yes, shoot me a message. I'll remember. Yep, I should be able to come. Okay, yeah. So let me know. There is a small cost just because our cohort members are there, but it'll be nominal. So just shoot me a message if you would like to come. And we will go from there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 7:00. If you have any questions, please, 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 if something comes up during the day and you're like, oh my God, this will be a great question to get answered, I would love to answer it live, because in most cases, people have the same questions. They're just afraid to ask them now. And nobody wants to be like in the spotlight. So ask it. If you want me to keep it anonymous, then I can just put, Jasmine, please keep this anonymous, and I definitely will honor that. But get your questions out, because this is the time for you to like kind of demystify what's going on so that you can take action and not just sit in the back seat anymore. Ladies, thank you so much. I am so grateful that you all showed up and stayed and hung out with me. Please send me the an email, Tiana. And I'm so grateful that you guys hung out with me all night, because I definitely was supposed to be done like 20 minutes ago. But I can't wait till tomorrow, and we're going to go deeper into this analyzing and deeper into what it takes to be an investor. Thanks so much, ladies. I will talk to you all soon.